Welcome. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the opening prayer. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bless us, Lord, as we gather today for this freeholder meeting. Guide our minds and hearts so we may work together for the good of our community. Help us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in the face of difficulty, and wise in our decisions. Amen. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, this is to announce that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. Also, pursuant to the 2020 bylaws, rules, and regulations of the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Burlington, time shall be set aside on the agenda for receipt of public comments. Public comments will be received with respect to agenda items prior to board consideration of resolutions to be adopted. An additional opportunity for public comment will occur later in the meeting. Public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Unused time may not be transferred to another speaker. Persons may speak once per public comment period. I direct the Deputy Clerk to enter into the minutes of this meeting, this public announcement, and the advance written notice of this meeting. Freeholder Hines? Here. Freeholder O'Connell?
Here.
Freeholder Pulliam?
Here.
Freeholder Singh?
Here.
Director Hobson?
here. Thank you. I'm looking for a motion for the approval of the minutes, the public and conference meetings of February 13th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Madam Director, I have to abstain from both minutes of the regular meeting February 13th and the conference February 13th.
Duly noted. Any abstentions? Motion passes. In recognition of Black History Month, I would like to call up the representatives from Dr. Steele's historic site. Well, thank you. How are you? I'm Felicia. It's nice to meet you. Do you mind telling us a little bit about Dr. Steele?
Dr. Steele was a Native American, native New Jerseyan. He was born in 1812 and died at the age of 1882. He became one of the wealthiest men in the county of New Jersey. In 2006, the state of New Jersey bought his property and turned it into an 18-acre park. So it is now a state park, and the Dr. James Steele Association manages that park. My cousin Carol, my cousin Kenya. So we've just now formally created a 501c3 to manage it. Medford Historical Society has now turned it over to us. We were working under them for quite a number of years. Our plan is that we're going to continue telling Dr. Steele's legacy, his brother William Steele's legacy, and Peter Steele. We're also going to continue to do what Dr. Steele would probably want us to do as a group, is to start doing wellness. We're going to have some Tai Chi classes, teach some herbal classes out there. We're also going to continue going out and reaching out to the local schools and telling the story of how Dr. Steele became an herbalist and how he became a wealthy Bromley County resident.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
that's
Thank you very much.
That's our mission.
Well, we'd like to honor you guys. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you.
Get in, come on around.
Ready?
Yep.
Thank you again. Thank you so
you.
much for being here. We will now move on to public comments on agenda items. As we move on, I want to remind everyone that this portion of public comment is limited to the items on tonight's agenda. Anyone who wishes to speak on other topics will have a chance to do so at the second public comment section later in the meeting. Please note that this is public comment and your feedback is important to us. This is not a question and answer forum. As a reminder, each speaker may only come up once per public comment. I understand that you may be passionate about your topic, and I would like to remind everyone to be courteous and respectful. Do we have any comments on any public comments on agenda items? Agenda items only. Louis?
Good evening. My name is Louis Elvis. We have 98 Lover's Drive. I have 3 agenda items, 8, 12, and the very last one.
You said H12 and
The last one.
H16?
Yes. Can you clarify for me?
Sure. So, Charlotte, are you here? So this is regarding the Municipal Alliance Plan and execution of the letter agreement with the Governor's Council to support alcoholism and drug abuse. Or is there anything else we can offer? I'm sorry, I'm looking for Charlotte. Sorry.
It's for education in schools and the communities.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Charlotte. And the last one, you said?
It's 8, 12, and the last one.
Oh, 8, the number 8. My
Yeah,
apologies. My
8,
apologies.
12, yeah.
This too, Charlotte, is a grant, correct? Outpatient sex offender specific treatment services?
Yes.
And this is also,
Fun.
this is state funded?
Yeah.
This is a state fund.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And the last
And the
one.
last one. Yeah.
County Engineer Brickley, could you address H16 for Lewis, please?
Is that the release of the performance and maintenance bonds?
Yes.
Yes, the county planning board routinely maintains planning of maintenance bonds for different projects. And when the projects are completed, they're reviewed by my office, and that recommendation to release the funds is made and approved by the freeholder.
And one last question. When's the meeting for the budget? Do you know?
When
For
are
the
our
2020 budget?
budget meetings will start, do they start in March, Carol? We're doing them now? So we're having internal budget meetings with each department. Are you referring to that or
Yeah,
just a
that.
public meeting? Okay. So right now, we're having internal meetings with each department.
Okay, that will be more information on the next meeting? Or that's?
So I'm trying to understand, so are you asking when are we going to present our
Yeah.
budget?
Yeah, the 20.
Right, so isn't that, we haven't confirmed the date yet, so as soon
Okay.
as we have one, we'll let you know.
Good, thank you. I got a comment on the other department.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for agenda items? I will close this portion of the meeting and move on to our resolutions. I would like to make a motion to approve resolution H1 for unanimous consent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aaron, please do roll call.
Freeholder Hines? Yes. Freeholder O'Connell?
Yes.
Freeholder Pulliam?
Yes.
Freeholder Singh?
Yes.
Director Hobson?
Yes. I would like to make a motion to approve resolutions H2 through H12 for unanimous consent.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Freeholder Pulliam?
Thank you, Madam Director. I would ask that the board pass by unanimous consent resolutions H13 and H14.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes. Freeholder Hines?
Thank you, Freeholder Director. I would like to move with unanimous consent resolution H15.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Freeholder O'Connell?
Thank you, Freeholder Director. I'd like to ask for a motion by unanimous consent of item H16.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Are there any questions from the media? Okay. We will move on to public comment on non-agenda items. Once again, I would like to remind you that this is public comment and your opportunity to provide us with your thoughts. This is not a question and answer forum. A speaker may only come up once per public comment section. I understand that you're passionate about what your topic is, but I would like to remind everyone to be courteous and respectful. All right, so I'm gonna start with the sign-up sheet here. Richard Kaiser. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for letting us talk. I'm Richard Kaiser. I live at 133 Sarazen Drive in Morristown. And I am the president of the Homeowners Association of a community called the Muse at Laurel Creek. And we recently wrote a letter to all of the freeholders to express our concerns about the increasing traffic congestion on Centerton Road. A lot of it due to proposed construction that's going to be placed along the strip of Centerton Road that we live on. And we wanted to come here and put a human face on that letter. And so I'm here, and a lot of the residents of the Muse are here. Okay, we have 122 residents. We've probably got maybe 20% of them here tonight. We're an over 55 community, and that's relevant to this issue. I'm not saying it's about any of my neighbors, and certainly not myself, but I've heard that as people get older, their driving skills don't continue to they actually go down, and that's not none of us. No, but the fact is, the Burlington County, Laurel, we're in Laurel Creek, but Morristown and Mount Laurel Township are planning to build over 1,000 housing units on the small strip of Centerton Road that we live on. And the traffic congestion that is already existing on Centerton Road is already very dangerous for us, at least. It's very difficult for us to get out of our housing addition during rush hour. Virtually impossible to make a left-hand turn either out of the addition or into the addition during rush hour under current conditions. And now we're looking at another 1,000 units that are going to be built on the one little mile strip that we live on. And that strip's currently a 2-lane road. And we're worried. It's a safety issue for us. We're not really, the issue of building along the road is not something we're concerned about. We're concerned about the safety of our residents. There's already been a fatality there. A man by the name of Jack McBride died there in a head-on accident during rush hour, and that was about 2 years ago. I personally have come very close to being rear-ended trying to make left-hand turns or right-hand turns into our area. So we're concerned. We have fear of the safety issues, the growing safety issues as the construction completes. And we're asking for your help. Now, in our letter, we discussed the fact that we'd love to see a traffic study. I know that you're probably already doing that. We're also worried about the environmental implications. The traffic is going to increase the noise pollution and the air pollution, to say nothing of the trees that will be cut down and the green areas that will be destroyed during the construction. So we're concerned about that, but our number one issue is the safety issue. Now, to put a further human face on it, we have signed a petition so that you can see that we're real human beings. So we've got about half of our residents have signed this already. Love to give it to you. You can read it. I just want to let you know that we're real human beings. We're really concerned about this, and we desperately seek your help in this issue that's only going to get worse. So thank you very much. And I know some of our other folks want to say some things too.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list, I have Patricia DeCiccio. Is that DeCiccio? My apologies.
name is Pat DeSilvio, and I live at 157 Saracen Drive in Morristown. On January 22nd, 2018, I was driving down Centerton Road, and I heard a loud boom. And I looked around and I didn't see anything, so I continued to drive. And shortly afterwards, I saw this young girl running down the center strip of Centerton Road. And I looked beyond her, and there was her car parked in the middle of Centerton Road. So I looked around, and she's still coming at me, and the cars were flying past me, and horns were honking, and nobody was stopping. And I thought, I have to help this poor girl. So I got out of my car, and I took her over to the side of the road. And I said to her, you know, what happened? What's wrong? And she was hysterical. She was shaking like a leaf, and she was crying, and she kept on saying, my father's going to kill me, my father's going to kill me. Well, I looked around, and her car looked fine. And I said to her, why is your father going to kill you? And she looked over to the side, and there, in the side of the road, embedded in the fence, was what I saw. I don't know if you can see this picture, but it's the van that John McBride was driving. So I went over to the van, and I couldn't see inside the van because of the airbag and because of all the crumpled metal. So I called in and I said, you know, can you hear me? Because I didn't know if there was one person or 5 people. And very coherently, he called out and he said, did anyone call 911? So a couple days later, the police called me and they wanted me to come in and make a statement. So I went in, and it was at that time that the police officer told me that John McBride had died as a result of the accident. And he also told me that John McBride was 67, the same age as I was, and John McBride was on his way home from work, just like me. And John McBride was the car in front of me. So I asked myself on numerous occasions if he died for me. But I wanted to relay the story to you because I want you to know how crowded these roads are. And there's no center lane for turning, there's no shoulder, and there's no room for error on these streets. So my question is, how many more families have to experience a similar scenario? Because it's been 2 years and I haven't noticed anything except for more cars on that road. Thank you.
Raymond Perry.
Hi, my name is Raymond Perry. I'm also from the Muse, and my address is 615 Tournament Drive in Morristown. I don't want to reiterate what has already been said, just add a little bit of color to it. We really want to make sure that emergency vehicles will be able to get in and out of the development as necessary. Right now on Friday, there was an accident at the intersection of Hartford and Centerton, and they had to close the road. And if an emergency had arisen in the development, it would have been very difficult for them to have figured out how to have gotten in. There's only 2 entrances, and they're both on Centerton Road. A little bit of humorous anecdote. The only way to make a left-hand turn out of the development at rush hour is to get out and push the cross sign so that traffic will stop and allow you to go through. So that is the situation that we're dealing with. And we are simply asking that you guys take a look at it, do a study, and make some improvements so that our residents can remain safe, and the residents of all that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Frasetti.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. I think Richard did a great job
I'm
of
sorry,
outlining.
I just need your name.
Oh,
Name and
Paul
town.
Ferretti, 116 Saracen Drive,
What town?
Morristown. Okay. I think Richard did an outstanding job of telling you the broad picture of what we're looking at and our problems. And a couple of other people have told you some good stories. My concern is one of safety. For instance, someone mentioned the accident that occurred on Hartford and Centerton the other day. As a result of that, we had cars cutting through our subdivision. There was even a school bus cutting through our subdivision. And I only have to think that when all of this construction takes place and the traffic continues to back up and back up, you're going to have more and more drivers looking to save 12 seconds and cut through our subdivision. And as you know by now, it's a 55 and over subdivision, and it's kind of peaceful, kind of quiet. And I'm concerned because I haven't heard any proposals about what you're looking at doing from a traffic standpoint. All we've heard about is building here, building there. I don't want our subdivision to be an unintended consequence of whatever happens with the construction without knowing what the changes in the road situation is going to be. That's our concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Tam.
Michael Tam, 24 Westminster Drive, Southampton. I looked to demographics quite a bit over the last 35, 40 years of towns in the county. And there's one single thread that falls through in those demographics that affect the county and all those towns. It's education. The level of education in each town is reflected in the town. The problems that these towns have and the county has is reflected there. Almost 70% of your budget, directly or indirectly, is affected by the education of the residents of Burlington County. And it's never addressed. People run for election, oh, we're going to take care of the youth of the county and young people are taking care of this and that on it. They take care of preservation of land. People take care of education as preservation of people. And it's not been addressed. And what I'm proposing is that the freeholders or any 2-year resident of Burlington County, that they get a 25% reduction in tuition of the college. And they also included in that the tech school in Medford and the tech school in West Hampton, simply because there's a lot of people that are working and want to improve themselves, and they can't afford to go to school at night or on weekends to improve it. But I'd like to see something like that, and that every year it goes up 5% for 5 years. That comes out to 50%. In theory, right now, if everybody applied in theory, and not counting what the state gives, it would be probably 4.75 a year. In reality, it'd be more 3.2 a year, 3.5 a year with it. But they would have to prove that they've been a permanent resident of Burlington County continuously. And one of the things they would have to have, they'd have to have a passport. Because lying on a passport is a serious offense. And that would help to solidify that. But the county should get into it. There would be a leader in the state with it. I know there's state programs. Matter of fact, the governor wants to put more money in the programs now. But that doesn't cover everybody. And when families have 2 or 3 children going to school, somebody's going to be left out. The other thing is, if you look at the demographics and you think about what you spend in different departments, and if the educational level was higher for individuals, it would be less that you'd be spending. The other thing today, when you want to go for a job, I know of many people that are qualified for various positions, they say. The only thing is, they don't have that little piece of paper that is a 2-year or 4-year. They don't have it, or they're not enrolled in a school for the last year and a half or so. Consequently, they know the job, they can handle it, but they're not being hired because to get through some of the doors, you need that piece of paper. It's very important. This all, the other thing is the economic growth in the county and what you're drawing. Right now, the county's becoming one big warehouse. People look at the demographics, boom, 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 and that's what they come up with. The rate they're going, they're not going to get any better. They're going to go downhill. Simply because warehousing is a big issue. Warehousing is good. It gives jobs to build them and it gives jobs that are needed. But they're the first ones to get cut in jobs when there's a downturn in the economy. Warehouses. Businesses cut their inventory. First thing they chop is inventory. They tighten it up. You've got to look at education. You've got to look at funding education. We're subsidizing it on tuition. And that is leaving the present amount of funding that you give to college, leave that there, and move it up every year according to cost of living or something. But you've got to get into this. I mean, if you want to be a county that's moving ahead, do something about it. And that's one of the things. It's preservation of people and the county.
Thank you. Louis?
Reading a freeholder. The first one, how's Tom feeling today?
How you feeling, Tom? How you feeling?
I'm doing all right.
I'm just curious about what's the current contract for the highway department?
What is the current contract for the,
Highway department?
I don't know, I don't understand
Even
the
like any
question.
raises, any new benefit?
Oh, you're referring to the county employees?
Yes.
Oh, we can't speak on their contract. Is that what you're asking? What is the current contract? What's in their contract?
There could be a new one coming up, or?
Oh, well, we wouldn't be able to speak on that.
Oh, okay, just asking.
Yeah, we can't make a comment on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for at least remembering. Question about your building. The building, I think action, that's very keen, the superintendent, right? There is a way you could, rent out some spaces to nonprofit people.
We're using it. We told them last week.
Oh, is this what you asked us about last week?
Yeah.
Oh, I believe it's already occupied.
We're using it.
I'll use it 100%, right?
It's the mosquito control building. It's already occupied.
What about the back area?
It's dry warehouse.
Yeah, it's warehouse space and it's mosquito occupied.
Okay. And I'm just curious about two more things. What's the status of your, are you up to the 2020 census? I mean,
Well, we're partnering with several groups, but we do have someone who's out at different initiatives with us, different activities. So we're getting the word out. We're talking about it at all the events that we go to. We know that it starts April 1st and it's gonna be open and you can do it online. So we are getting the word out as best we can, but we do have a team of workers that's partnering with other not-for-profit groups to get the word out.
and a question about the coronavirus. If the Belton County is really sure they're ready for any new cases in case we get.
Nothing's been reported to us, right?
Okay.
Nothing's been reported to us since the update from
Yeah,
first came out.
I don't know, but like I said, we have a friend who lived right here in Belton County. He said it took him 32 days to get to the United States.
Right,
14
but
days.
he was quarantined at the base, correct?
No, according to at 3 different locations.
But the good thing is they were
From
in
China
quarantine.
to Australia, from Australia to Christmas Island. I don't know if anybody heard about Christmas Island. it's like I could try even better. And another one, she's right now out in California. She's finally, home, safe. She's been from China for 5 years. She's over 350 miles away from us. And like I said, she's very glad she's home, back to her United States family. And I think that'll be all. I appreciate it. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Louis. John Lockett.
Good evening, how are you? John Lockett from Willingboro. I was at the last meeting that you had, and I brought up the issue of the Centerton Bridge. And I would, first of all, like to know, is there any plan for additional public hearing or meetings on the disposition of the bridge in terms of what direction we're going? I know there's a study currently being done on the feasibility of a pedestrian bridge. I'm a little puzzled, maybe you can answer the question, why wasn't that study done to consider all possibilities for rebuilding the bridge, particularly for vehicular traffic? There's a sizable population of county residents, most of whom reside in Willingboro, but also other communities who've been extremely disadvantaged by the demolition and removal of that bridge, and without any plans to reconstruct the bridge. It's not just an inconvenience. I think I mentioned last time I was here that it's a safety hazard as well for those who must, instead of traveling half a mile to the intersection of Creek Road and Centerton, to have to travel 3+ miles in some cases out to a very heavily trafficked highway, 295, encounter whatever traffic may exist, rush hour traffic. There have been accidents on 295 that have literally shut down 295. In that case, there really is no alternate route. I mean, what do you do? You go all the way to the bypass, or you go out to 130? That seems like an incredible situation to have to face for mobility in the region. I really would like for the freeholders to think about that, and also think about the long history of that bridge in the county. It has existed for, my understanding is over 100 years. Before a lot of the other communities sprung up along Centerton Road, that bridge existed and served the needs of the community and the county well. I really do want to point to the safety issues involved with traffic that must now reroute onto 295, and in many cases exit onto Creek Road. And there's a very dangerous merge there because that merge is a short distance from the traffic light. And there are actually four lanes of traffic that one must navigate across to get to a left-hand turn to continue on Centerton Road. That's a real hazard for a lot of people. The other issue is there have been major accidents, and I think it's a result of the increased traffic flow on Beverly Rancocas Road between Bridge Street and 295. Part of that is caused by the rerouting of traffic, I'm sure. The other part of it is the fact that warehouses are springing up left and right in West Hampton along that stretch. We have more 18-wheelers than I can count that are also using that road. And that's a real safety hazard for people that have to travel and make that commute regularly and can encounter that kind of congestion and the issues that arise. So I would really like to hear from the freeholders that you will open up consideration of what direction you're going with that bridge, and give ample opportunity for the community to voice its opinion on that. I couldn't help but hear the residents of the Mews, and I know I travel that route quite often, and that is a problem. They do have a traffic light that isn't operational, that could help, but they probably need more than that. So I think there are communities that are not being served well with traffic along that entire route, and I would urge the county to consider all of the issues for all of the residents of that region.
Jean Maskell.
Good evening, Madam Freeholder Director. I was here 2 weeks ago, so I know that's what I'm supposed to say, and members of the Board of Directors. I'm also...
Your name and town for the record.
Jean Maskell, I'm 159 Saracen Drive, Morristown, the Mews and Laurel Creek. I'm also on the Board of Directors there, and I just want to emphasize what we've been saying, but I also want to make sure that you realize when you hear an over 55 community, your first reaction is, oh, they're complaining again, they're going to be complaining, they don't want any building. That's not our concern. We know that we are supportive of the township regulations that have to come and the building that has to be done, especially the affordable housing, and we're very supportive of the communities and their responsibilities. But we're concerned about the safety of that road. It is absolutely horrible. At 5 o'clock, you cannot get out of our development. And we were told that the developers who developed our community were supposed to improve the road, but got out of it. It wasn't from this board, I'm sure, but that they got out of their responsibilities. And I want you to know that we want you to hold the developers accountable to do a traffic study before they do any development. And that the traffic study takes into account all of the townships and all of the development. Mount Laurel will do one and they'll say, oh, we did Mount Laurel, we don't care about Morristown. Morristown will do it and they'll say, we don't care about Mount Laurel. So we want you to take into account the whole Centerton Road and all the development along Centerton Road and the traffic. We're concerned about the safety of our residents.
Thank you. Tracy Crum. Crum, am I pronouncing that?
Yes, Crum.
Hi, I'm Tracy Kroom. I'm from Mark, New Jersey, and I got two different kind of topics I'm trying to get out real quick. But my business and what I've been trying to push out with you first, and for those that don't know, it's an at-risk program for preventative. Stop waiting until they get in trouble, but most of the time I have them when they are. So I've been asking for it to be put on as a retainer or a provider, service provider for the court system. So as soon as they come to them, that they send them to my pretty much touch of class etiquette program, which is personal development and business etiquette. So it's another approach to help recidivism instead of them coming right back to what they do. Picking up garbage and all that kind of stuff is great, but the children and the adults that are coming out from jail, they need skills. They need tools, they need to know how to get to work on time, they need to know why they should dress appropriately, how to shake hands, how to have eye contact, and also build the relationships that they lost while they were in. So they have children, they have families, and they lost a lot of time. So within our program, we are not touching just how to set a table and go out to eat. Etiquette is much more than that, and I really want to broaden that experience for the probationers, for the reentry adults. So I'm asking again if you could somehow, segue in. I talked to one of the guys recently, and so kind of was lost in the shuffle. So hopefully you guys can make sure that that gets out there to the courts. Also, I noticed there's a lot of different contracts, about 3 different various ones for helping alcoholism for the youth, which I was part of the, family coalition for that. But what about prevention? And what are we doing to actually help these kids coming out of juvenile detention and them coming out of jail? So I just want to know how the money's being allocated, how to get on where the money shuffle should go, and I just want to be looked at as one of the service people that care. I'm a teacher for the Juvenile Detention Center, and I'm a mother of 5, foster parent, and I know the need is there, and there's just so many people that need the help, but don't know where to go, and not enough services actually being allocated. And then on a whole separate note, helping the people, like I recently took in my father, and as a young mother, divorced, and trying to keep everything together, once you have that transition and you're trying to help somebody else, your parent come in and build something, you lose services, which is very odd. But if I came in and said family programs that they have for free lunches or reduced lunches or any kind of thing where you need support while you're transitioning, getting myself back together when I was coming up out of divorce and having to be the financial provider and go through college and go through all this as a single mother, I lost a parent and then took one in. So when that happened, there was I lost resources. I'm sorry to say emotional. Because they count my father's income with mine. But his income is still covering a house that he doesn't even live in. So if he refinanced to fix the roof, because they do things that they do wackily to try to keep their home, but he's paying on a 30-year roof on a house he doesn't live in. So his income and his health insurance goes to that. It doesn't come to the groceries in my house or the food for my kids. And so I just wanted to kind of look at that and see if there's any kind of, way of trying to help the children that actually don't want to put their parents at home, but they want to keep them, we love them, and we want to provide them all that they provided us. So, I just kind of want to see if there's something that we can look at in light of that to help the services for people that are trying to help their parents. So that's that. Thank you.
And you, Nicholas, you have heard, okay, so we'll get you some information.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Robert Tanzola. Robert Tanzola.
I signed up by mistake.
Oh. Okay. David Greenbaum.
Hello, my name is David Greenbaum. I live at 207 Eagle Court in Morristown, which is also part of the Muse at Laurel Creek. I just want to let you know, I used to live in Cherry Hill many years ago, and I first want to compliment the board as well as people from Morristown and Mount Laurel because they have city planning here. Whereas in Cherry Hill, there's not almost an inch of space that they've left unused. And I think Morristown has been very good at city planning to make sure that we do things the right way. Presently, though, on Centerton Road, there's a huge backlog of cars and a real problem at rush hour, in particular going towards Creek Road and 295. And one of the problems is that, one, it's 2 lanes, and 2, Creek Road is 2 lanes, and you're turning right on Creek Road to go into 295, and they get 3 cars down per light because it's a backlog of cars all the way through. And you get 3 cars through this big log jam. So it's a real problem. Now, I'm also a member at the Laurel Creek Country Club, and we recently had an addition put in, And we wound up, I believe, giving some of the land to the township, and I think it was $300,000, so that they could create an extra lane on Creek Road, which was required for us to do this addition. I think having these new homes being placed on Centerton Road actually could be a great benefit to us. And the reason I'm saying that is we already have a major problem, but there is a solution. And the solution is to continue the 4 lanes that was made near Costco all the way through to Creek Road and to increase Creek Road. Now, it's not going to be inexpensive because you have that bridge on Centerton Road where it becomes narrow. But the problem is that we already have too much traffic, and if you have now 1,000 new units being put up, you have the ability to have each of those units have money donated towards the city and the township to actually create a difference in the infrastructure. And if you would make a 4-lane highway there, I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but if you make a 4-lane highway there, increase Creek Road, the infrastructure will be able to handle the traffic. You put a couple lights up, and it will be safe, it'll flow better, and it'll be much safer and better for all of the residents there. And I think you, as the freeholders who are really in charge of the roads, because one side's Mount Laurel, one side's Moorestown, and nobody talks to each other necessarily, but you have the ability to make sure that we increase the infrastructure and actually improve the situation. So, you know, I basically want you to just continue the great city planning that you've done up through this point, and continue that, and make the people that are going to be making a tremendous amount of money on these developments add money so that we can get the proper infrastructure for everybody.
Kate Talon.
Hi, my name is Kate Talon, and I'm from New Egypt in Ocean County, but I work in Mansfield Township. I'm here for one reason, but I wanted to make a statement about all the other comments that I heard. My best friend is actually the daughter of John McBride, the man that they were talking about who passed. And I was at his funeral, his viewing, and one of the things I kept hearing was how dangerous the road was that he was driving on that day. And that was the only thing I remember hearing from the funeral. I just wanted to say that I support you guys. Okay, so I am the director of the Crafts Creek Spring Hill Brook Watershed Association, situated in Region 20, its headquarters of which are in Mansfield Township. Its hydrological borders are Florence Township and Bordentown Townships, and it empties into the Delaware River through Groveland and Crystal Lake County Park. Monday night, February 24th, the Mansfield Township Planning Board met to vote on a final plan approved of a warehouse being proposed on Route 206 by the applicant, a developer called Mansfield Realty. For almost a year, we have been reminding the Township Planning Board that the stream through Crystal Lake Park, running up alongside this proposed property where its headwaters are, is pending approval by the NJDEP on a C1 status upgrade, meaning the highest level of environmental protection. Reasons being federally and state endangered freshwater mussels and recreational public contact with the park waters. We asked the township to postpone the approval of these plans pending the status results coming in. Instead, the township not only approved, but allowed the developer to expand its warehouse design and encroach even closer to the stream's headwaters, taking it from a 150-foot buffer down to only 50 feet. This stream has already felt the impact of the road salts, exhaust, and oil pollution from the expansive parking lots of the National Automobile Wholesale Distributor Manheim that maintains no stream buffer whatsoever because it was built so long ago. From 20 years of monitoring these headwaters, it gives us the data that shows increased salinity and low levels of oxygen. The reduced buffer, increased impervious surfaces, and additional 24/7 truck idling, noise, and light pollution will absolutely, without a doubt, kill this freshwater stream, thus emptying polluted waters into our beloved county park. Mansfield Township has again waived critical tree removal and stream ordinances for major developments in a critical aquifer recharge zone that supplies water to a large portion of Burlington County. This has become a pattern leading to the degradation of the environmental sustainability of the area. Please help us put a hold on this warehouse plan until we can do something right, until we can protect the county investments and public health. Otherwise, we will end up with empty aquifers, harmful algal blooms, dead wildlife in Crystal Lake, and toxic waters dumping into the Delaware. Thank you.
Robert Town?
Robert Town, 2454 Axe Factory Road, Bordentown, actually Mansfield Township's Bordentown down the address. Thank you for listening. I'm a member of the same watershed association, and I've been attending the planning board meetings over a period of years for this particular development, this warehouse development. That part of 206 is zoned for industrial, but following this through the years, at one time there was a 150-foot buffer because of the downstream threatened and endangered species, but apparently the applicant was able to get that buffer reduced down to 50 feet for, because apparently there was a few feet difference in argument on how far the creatures were from this headwaters area. It is important that these headwater areas are protected for several of the reasons that Kate mentioned, that downstream threatened and endangered species, the human contact, the fishing in Crystal Lake Park and the kayaking. This small stream will be impacted negatively. One of the basins they're using is an underground system that doesn't offer oxygenation. Like if you've seen a lot of these wet basins that have the oxygenators, and then the water gets, the stormwater gets treated, but when it's under the ground, it doesn't have that same removal of nutrients that can cause pollution in the streams. The applicant was given a final approval, but there's still several pending issues with the hookup of wastewater. Apparently, they're going to have to go several miles to hook up to a plant that goes to a development called Mapleton and Four Seasons, which is a retirement community, and also supplies Northern Burlington County's regional school district with sewage treatment. It's a private company that owns this, and approximately operating at about 80% of capacity right now. And I'm concerned that not only with the buffers for protecting the stream, but Northern Burlington County, you hear all the folks talking about the COA development that's going in all over, we're going to have to plan for a lot more development. So Northern Burlington, being a regional school covering 4 townships, McGuire Air Force Base and Fort Dix, it's doing an expansion right now. It may even have to do a bigger expansion. So if we are giving all these parasitical approvals to these plants for all these other uses, I don't know what the school's going to do if it comes to where that's the only place they have to. So I'm just asking that, although I realize it's home rule with a lot of this, the township's design, how these things go, I think there are some elements that spill over into our county planning board and our wastewater management plan. I'd like to see that at the county level, these areas that I'm mentioning here and we're talking about are looked at very critically. I don't know that you can do anything, but like I said, it's just not so much that this is an industrial use there that it's been zoned for, but the way it's been expanded because of the footprint after the removal of the 150-foot buffers, I really think is a problem. Some of the reason that they had to get for that was because the state highways require them to put 2 jug handles in, which used a lot of their space up to get approval. So just to say that. And I just wanted to mention one more thing. Years ago, I brought this up before in several township meetings. You guys as freeholders did a really good job by providing that growth and preservation plan that all 13 of our townships in the Burlington area have gotten involved in trying to look at how we were going to plan our future, how we were going to plan everything. And I did not think, it never saw this warehouse explosion coming. It couldn't adapt that. So I was wondering if maybe you guys could look into the near future as having a re-examination of that and getting out to the other townships and looking at all these problems with open space. We've done a fantastic job with open space. compared to the rest of the country, and that's commendable, and that's because of you guys, freeholders. That didn't start at the township, it started right here, and made us one of the premier communities to do that in the whole nation. So I just would like to see that effort maybe re-emphasized and re-brought to the surface again. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Yes.
Good evening, my name is Lori Howard, 97 Kettlebrook Drive in Mount Laurel. So I'm coming, I know you see me year after year after year. So the bridge will have been closed, I think it's 6 years, no, 5, I lose track of either 5 or 6 years in April. So since that time, I know everyone up here has not been on the board, but I haven't seen anyone trying to address anything in terms of the residents whose lives have changed. I've asked before, is there any way you could help senior citizens who no longer feel comfortable driving on 295? What type of transportation options are available? Don't really know, haven't heard anything about that. Also, I know in terms of the historical piece, that's upsetting that the county seems to value history in Smithville, but not in the Rancocas area, from what I can see. Again, I'm just going off of what I see. And the fact that we have presented petitions to the board, and there were a couple board members here when we did so. I'm not sure if you still have that in your records, but I think it would be wise for you to look at that. So these are all residents here. We have an issue, but it's just this lack of engagement with the public. So everyone can look and say, okay, okay, okay. But I never see anybody advocating for us at the state level for our gas tax, you know, the gas taxes that we're paying, advocating at the federal level so we get more funding for bridges and infrastructure. And I think infrastructure is very easy to ignore, but it's something that we all should be paying attention to. Centerton Road, I remember there was no light on that road when I was little. Now you have someone, unfortunately, who did pass away, and I hate to say it, so hopefully now you would do something since someone has lost their life. So I think that's probably the only way that things will be addressed, hopefully. But it's just sad to say that, you know, you have a person who lost their life, and we still don't get engagement. Like, what are we going to do for them? So when I look to freeholders, I look to people that are going to fight for me as a resident. And unfortunately, I don't see any fighters right now. I see a lot of people just kind of keeping status quo that's been happening in the county for the last 2 years. So again, I just would like to engage when I go onto the Facebook page for the county. I see that you're having all sorts of different taco nights and this, that, and the other, but I don't see any notices for freeholder meetings. So do you want to engage with the public, or do you just want to listen to us and not have a Q&A? So I think a Q&A is needed based upon what a lot of people in the audience are saying. We need the opportunity to engage, and I think that it's just not evident to me. You may be doing things behind the scenes, but you need to let the public know what you're doing. Not sure what the plans are, but if there's a possibility to think about, again, advocating more for your residents. You know, I really am disappointed. I mean, I've been coming here for a long time, and you might say, well, we can't, but I need someone to try, and I haven't seen anyone trying to do anything. And if you're doing things, great, but just let us know, because it just seems like for everyone who signed a petition, for everyone who's complaining, who's been impacted, it's like, okay, you just move on to the next thing. So really, don't ignore your residents. We are the ones that put you up here, and unfortunately, we're also the same ones to make sure that you don't come back. I really think in terms of just what's going on, I manage the Facebook page with one of my friends. The amount of messages that I get in there in terms of people who are very racist and say that we don't want Willingboro people coming over to this side, they won't put it out there publicly. That's something I hear all the time. And it really just shows me that in terms of these infrastructure decisions, especially around the Centerton Bridge, I just want you guys to peel back a little bit and look at the institutional racism that has occurred. These decisions were made in the 70s. We weren't told for a long, long time. But I feel currently, if this was a decision made in 2000, that the current board sitting up here probably would not do a different job in terms of telling the public what's happening. So I'm just asking again, been coming for years. You can go to the webpage, google@centertonbridge.com. But I think also driving these routes that people are saying they're having difficulty with, take a month, take a couple weeks, just actually drive so you seem like you're more, I'm going to say empathetic, because I'm missing the empathy piece. I know, again, it's not a question and answer, but just like to just have people sit and not respond, and have people sit and say we're going to do this, this, and this, and not to hear anything happening. Like, what are you gonna do to address the people? So say you don't build the bridge, what are you gonna do to address the people whose lives have been inconvenienced? Again, we talk about congestion, we talk about fuel consumption. You know, someone would say, well, you have to drive 10 minutes more, but that adds up those 10 minutes. And why are certain populations expected to drive 10 minutes more, where other populations, things are built to address their needs? So that's it, I'm coming because I haven't been here in a while, and someone said that, you know, board members weren't sure of people complaining, so I'm here to complain to you. But also to think as a whole, the Sydenham Road area, Hartford Road, everything is just a hot mess. And I would just like someone to come say, oh, I drove that, and I really do see what you mean, but I feel like empathy's not there. And that's it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Yes.
Hello. My name is Anisha Bolden, and I too share the plight that the Morristown and Mount Laurel Maple Shade area is coming from. I'm coming from Maple Shade. I'm 39 and I'm original from Wellingboro. So for a long time I've seen and witnessed this. I'm going to speak on that first because I have 3 points. I'm sorry for the death that happened in the family. I am a living person that's coming as a victim of just about being hit by a car. At the Morristown Mall, that area all around, because I'm coming from the other side, I'm coming from the Maple Shade area, 73, and I walk because I don't drive, so right now I'm taking the bus. So when I cross the highway, it's like a near-death experience every single day, which is ridiculous. I understand that, you know, the Morristown Mall is cute, and, you know, it's the nightlife area going on, whatever. The Centerton Road, all of this, to be short, can we get some police activity, maybe a little bit of monitoring? Last week there was a car in a tree in the front area, that's the 38 of the Morristown Mall. Right before I'm getting off the bus, I pry into the door every single night. Tuesday, Monday, and Wednesday I come out here to Mount Holly, to the courthouse. I'm visiting my boyfriend, he's here in jail. Then I go back to Maple Shade. It's pandemonium. I try to rush in the house before it gets dark, like 5 o'clock, because that's when they're drunk driving, trying to get there to get a good seat for the nice little restaurants there. And unfortunately, we lost a life, and it could have been me. And I'm here as a living person to represent the community and to validate that this is very real. And just can we get some police, just to, you know, monitor the area. I don't know why, but I think that that would be a wonderful way to just sever this issue as far as with the congestion. They could do a little bit of trafficking. I mean, we pay taxes, and I know the money is there, well, somewhere, but they're already working. Instead of being in the office, can they come out, basically? Because I definitely want to live. I'm trying to be old, like 100, you know, and I do not want to get ran over by a drunk driver, especially. Second, I'm here to speak about the mistreatment that's going on in Burlington County Jail. Like I said, my boyfriend is there. He has been there for a while now. And I personally and him, we have had several issues. I have went up respectively through the chain of command through those issues, and they have not been severed. For one, issues with like our mail. For two, the community issue with the visiting. It takes sometimes 45 minutes for a visit to be called. Me in particular, I'm always the first there and just about the last to get called. We're granted about 15 minutes, but it can last to an hour, it depends. We have to share, and it's a fluctuation of the visits. I think that this is inappropriate. We put a lot of money into the jail. He has to pay $200 as every other member of the community that is an inmate there. They have to pay $200 just to be there. For starters, at least you can bring my person, my family, my loved one up to the visit. So I would like for there to be a sort of internal investigation in the proceedings that is going there, the guidelines, rules, and regulations that certain officers, I mean, like I said, I'm 39, I was raised by older people. They say, you know, one bad apple spoils the bunch. I do want to compliment, because it's not all, but there are some officers that are just, they do their own thing. There's this squad thing going on, different quads, different, at different shifts on different days. So it's not an intentional routine for them as prisoners. Also, I think it's inhumane for the 24/1 just about lockdown. This is just a little, it's our maximum, but this is just a mere, traffic violation. You can have violation of probation, child support, Art, and he's young. He's 22 years old. And this is his first time in jail. So, the psychological impact of being locked up in a cell by yourself or with one other person for 23 hours a day is, I feel a little bit overbearing, and it's a little bit, I think, unnecessary, but that's personal opinion. I think psychologically it's inappropriate, for here, and that's from a traffic drunken disorderly overnight or a week to people that are murderers and, child assaultees. I think that should be looked into, and we as a community should have it changed, and the behavior of the officers is very important. I personally would like to have some kind of feedback. I will be back. This is my first freeholders meeting, but that is dear to me. The last thing, I don't know if that means we're over.
Yes.
Okay. The water. There was a water main broke in Maple Shade, and I just like to know about the water. It tastes different overnight. I'm going to start buying my water now, but I was drinking my water. It was very clean. It tasted very good. And I'd like to know if there is some negative impact with the water since the main broke and since it's been changed.
Can you give your information to our public information officer, Nicholas?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment? Is there anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, we'll close this portion of the meeting. We'll move on to freeholder comments. Freeholder Hines.
Thank you, Freeholder Director. So before each meeting, I type up exactly what I want to say in my comment, and then I never get to it because the public comment is so compelling that I want to respond. So here we go. Well, one, I would like to congratulate Dr. Still and his organization at the beginning of the meeting for their amazing service to Burlington County. I want to welcome back Freeholder Pulliam. I know he is sitting over there in a great deal of pain, but he's a trooper, and that's what a true public servant does. Let's keep the meeting going, and now I'm kidding. I want to thank Mr. Kaiser and the residents, and the residents of the Muse. I appreciate you wanting to put a face. I actually am still carrying around your letter. I looked up what a bobolink bird is, okay? So I appreciate that, but we know you're real human beings, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your evening to show up and advocate on your behalf. Mrs. Maskill, my mother would have my head if I thought anyone over 55 was a whiner. So that is not, my fellow freeholder might be nearing that age. And I'm going to butcher some of the names because this has been a while in the meeting and I didn't have the pronunciation. Mr. Time, I want to thank you. Education is paramount. It's paramount to everything. Economic development, social development. So I thank you for coming and advocating on those issues. And finally, well, with regard to the Centerton Bridge, just personally, so, I am well versed in that area. I live in West Hampton. My mother, that I'm solely responsible to make sure she is happy and healthy at all times, is in Delran. The Centerton Bridge was my #1 way to get to her. So trust me, I know that area, I drive that area, and I'm as inconvenienced as everyone else. And finally, Ms. Howard, it's the first time that I'm on this side of the board. I used to be over there when we met. So I would ask that you, at least with regard to me, judge me on my body of work. And you don't have that body of work yet. I have been very responsive to every email, every message. I have meetings. I wish, this could be a full-time job, because it could be a full-time job. So I definitely want to exchange information. Because there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and I think you're right, that not enough information is out there that, the answer may not be what you want, but you want to know that it was addressed. So I thank you for coming, and let's make sure that we connect, and thank you everyone for coming out.
Thank you, Freeholder Director. I'd like to thank all of you who took the time to come here this evening. I'm sure there's many other things you'd rather be doing than coming here, but it's important to us to hear from you about what's on your mind. Like my colleague Linda, first of all, I'm way past 55, so, and I'm not a whiner. There's a difference between a complaint and whining, and I think I know what that is. I live in Delran. I drive Creek Road almost every day, or Hartford Road. I try to avoid Centerton Road, one because it wasn't paved very well for quite a while, but neither is Creek Road also. But part of the problem is the traffic has grown in Burlington County, in New Jersey, and in the country, and we haven't kept up with it. We haven't invested in infrastructure. I worked for the railroad, and I worked for our railroad union, and I lobbied for years to get an increase in the gas tax in New Jersey. And for as much as we were trying to do that, there were people that said to not raise their taxes. And therein lies the rub you have as an elected official. There's people that want things done, and I get that. I believe that. I believe that's part of the role of government. But there's other people that say, don't raise my taxes no matter what the reason is, and I don't agree with that. I think if we're going to have a society that takes care of people, as this young lady was talking about, and others have talked about, you have to make investments and you have to make choices. But I have to tell you, when you're looking at, say, the Centerton Bridge, and ma'am, last year we had many meetings where a lot of people came and complained to us about the bridge and that they wanted the bridge. And I don't know whether this has been shared with you, but before this freeholder board took over, there was a study on the bridge. To replace it was going to cost about $25 million. And the problem is, as you're familiar, those of you who may travel on 295, there's 2 extra lanes there between Willingboro and Delran. And it's the only part of 295 that has those 2 lanes. And the reason it was done is because somebody was thinking about something was going to happen to the Centerton Bridge. So we are doing a study on a pedestrian bridge, and we're hoping that that kind of gives us some instruction on what could be done for a replacement bridge. But I don't want to give anybody the impression that's going to be done anytime soon. And here's part of the problem. Normally on a project like that, you could get federal funds. The reason, with those 2 extra lanes on 295, they're probably going to claim that's your solution and not give us any of that. So that means that money would fall all the way to the county, and maybe we could get some state transportation trust fund. So I just want to give you an idea when, we don't engage with you here, this isn't a Q&A, but we do listen to everything that you say. We take that back and we have discussions internally. We talk with the department heads about what we can do and try and resolve things. None of us are up here to ignore the people that come before us and the people that have elected us. You're our bosses. We understand. So I appreciate you all coming out here, and maybe because you don't hear from us, don't think that we're not listening to what you have to say. The folks at the Muse, I read your letter, and I can speak for all of my colleagues here. We get a lot of mail. We get a lot of email. We all read it all. And this is a part-time job, but a lot of this stuff can, make it almost full-time. The lucky thing is, unlike the other 4 of us, I'm the only retiree, so I have a little bit more time, and I'm happy to do that. And I hope going forward that we'll show you that we do want to take care of people's and their issues that come before us. Having said that, I'd just like to say a couple of other things. I'd like to thank Governor Murphy for inviting the freeholders to attend yesterday's budget address. The things we talk about here, a replacement bridge, helping people, problems in our jail, it all requires money. And to be able to sit in the audience and listen to what our governor has to propose, I just wanted to let him know that I appreciate it, and I know my fellow freeholders do also. And I'd also like to thank Operation Yellow Ribbon. For those of you who may not know this group, this is a group that welcomes home people that have been serving in our military overseas. And today I had a real happy occasion this morning to be out at an elementary school in Chemung, where they surprised a little boy by having his father come home unbeknownst to him. This group provides an escort to these folks. They bring them out and just say thank you on behalf of all of us. And I know the freeholders, we appreciate them always asking us to be involved, and I know I look forward to attending as many of these as I can. Again, thank you everybody for being here tonight, and that's my remarks for tonight.
Thank you everyone for coming out, as always. I found another colleague in the audience, this time with another issue. In terms of all of the, whether it's the development happening in Mansfield or the lack of, or at least acknowledgement of any plans for Central Ward Bridge, some of these issues are somewhat under control, some are, just waiting for their turn. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for Central Ward Bridge at this point, and Lori knows, she's been coming in for a while. It's a bridge that I do fully advocate for. I understand the need of it. My family understands the need of it. I understand how the communities are there, especially with Mount Laurel campus being the community college, the center of it right across the creek on the other side. It's not something that I don't advocate for. But right now we are in our pending motions trying to get that study results come back so we can gain some information from it in terms of the environmental impact, in terms of the even simple as just the access we'll need if we're to expand. And then I know there have been some information shared about in terms of the span of the bridge and also the height of the bridge, whether we need to raise it to let the boats go through underneath, or we need we don't need that big a height, or we don't need it to make it a movable one. It's all of that information we have in different pieces, but right now the demolition is going on. Once that phase is completed, then this board will have to contend with that issue. At that point, this board will have to individually decide how we proceed with that. We can't run away from it forever, or just not sit here and not be freeholder anymore. But it's not something that you're not gonna ever hear about it again. But I'm sorry if you felt that we were not engaging, but it's just we don't have any update till the results come back from the feasibility study, and we have time to study it and then make our own, priorities. As you know, every budget there are priorities that come into play. It's not like we don't have them on 25 million. We have $200 million budget, but what else are we gonna cut? So the money has to come from somewhere, either the taxes or take the other things, move them down the priority list. But that's kind of where we are at this point, and I'm sure when the time comes, we will have to then contend with that and figure out exactly, where we are on this issue. So I thank you so much, guys, for coming. It's not that we're just stonewalling, as my fellow freeholder said, but we do listen, we take notes, we do all our homework, but unfortunately sometimes we don't have answers readily available because we're not the center of all the information that goes through all the time. But our PIO will get back to you with all the other questions that were to you individually if you need information. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you. I just want to add to the sentiment of the other freeholders. The point that was brought up about engaging back and forth, I understand that frustration. I always like to engage. That's my nature. I do want you to know that there is a tremendous amount of bantering back and forth, and once we do get data, I can assure you that the 5 of us do sit down and go over what we do get. One of the keys to our decision making is our professionals. We're not experts. I'm not an expert engineer. I'm not an expert in traffic study. So we do rely on the expertise of the people that we do have working for us. And when they do come to us and tell us that something is feasible or not feasible, we do have to take that into consideration. And again, we do have to engage you and let you know that we are going through that process. I live in Edgewater Park. My son lives in Dale Brand. I go through Centerton. My wife is a teacher in Mount Laurel over at Hartford, so I go Hartford Road. And I can tell you, right now, I avoid that area like it's the plague. So I do thoroughly understand what you're going through. I personally feel that, you know, I may be putting myself out there a little bit, but maybe taking away the Centerton Bridge did add to that. That's some of the thinking that goes on in my mind. And I haven't been assured that I'm wrong or I'm right in thinking that way. But I do want you all to realize that we're not just 5 people that let things go in and out of our ears and don't listen. We do listen. And when we do have something concrete, I can assure you we'll come back to you with what we've been talking about. I want to thank you all for coming and engaging us. We don't know everything. We do want to hear what's on your minds, because I personally got into this to try to do my best to help you. And the only way I can help you is hearing what problems you're having. I want to thank our directors and deputy directors taking the time from a long day to come out here. Thank you once again for everything you do for us and the residents. And be safe tonight going home. Thank you very much.
To the residents of the Muse and to Ms. Talon, it breaks my heart to hear that someone lost their life because of the traffic in that area. But we are absolutely here to hear you and listen to you. That said, we've already started having conversations with the mayor of Morristown. We've had some conversations with the Councilman Stejlik from Mount Laurel to discuss your concerns. We have committed to continuing the conversations because most of the issues are really you're at the local municipality level, because the county is only responsible for a small portion of Centerton Road. So that said, we're going to continue to have those conversations with your local electeds, and I'm happy to report back to you all. I've had conversations with the mayor and the councilman from Mount Laurel and their township administrators and some of their county, the township engineers. We recognize it and we understand your concerns. So that is our commitment to you at this point, is that we'll continue the conversation with your local electeds. And if we can come up with a plan that works for everyone, we'll absolutely come back and share that with you before we implement a plan. But we are having conversations, so at minimum, the conversations will continue. That may not give you any recourse right now, but I at least want to let you know that we are having those conversations with your local electeds to find out what we can do, how quickly we can do it, what's the impact, is it a good resolution, is it a bad resolution? So we are having those conversations. So if you could just bear with us, and I'm sure some of you guys are going to your locals as well and voicing your concerns with them. So just letting you know that we are having that conversation. Regarding the infrastructure and the Centerton Bridge, I can't say more than what my colleagues have said. Ms. Howard, I live in Willingboro, so I understand the impact. I live in Willingboro, work in Morristown, and I'm back between a Morristown building and a Mount Laurel building. So even when I'm leaving to get to meetings that are politically affiliated, I'm always in the traffic. There is no shortcut for me. So it doesn't matter which way you turn. So I get it, and I drive it every single day. Sometimes 2-3 times a day I'm sitting in the traffic just because of where I live. And how am I going to get to work? I can't get on the bridge, so I have to get on 295. And because I'm me, I'm always late. So trying to get to work, I'm sitting in traffic. So I absolutely get it. So you mentioned, you would wish we would be in that person's shoes. Well, a lot of us are in those shoes, particularly for me, every single day, Monday through Saturday sometimes, getting to work, getting to meetings. So we hear what you're saying, and it is our goal to make sure that we keep the lines of communication open with everyone. You do have to understand, though, and I'm asking you to understand that we can't share everything with you all, right? For privacy reasons, contractual reasons. So while we may not provide regular updates, and I'm bad because I don't go on my Facebook page enough to give updates, call me guilty, social media sometimes just brings me down. So I don't go on there like I should to share information about what we're doing. So I will definitely try to do better, but that's just me and my issue with social media. So I have to get past that. So I apologize for that. So we're gonna keep doing our best. We're gonna keep, regarding the police activity around the Morristown Mall, we can definitely share this information with the locals at Morristown Mall, and see what we can do. But thank you for bringing it to our attention. I'm happy to continue the conversation offline with anyone in the room. Everyone knows, as my colleagues have said, we take meetings all the time. So it's not an issue of whether or not we'll take the meeting, it's just an issue of when the meeting will be. So if you guys want to continue your conversation, if we're not giving you answers quick enough, fast enough, or we're not being personable enough from the dais, we're happy to have a meeting with you. We're happy to do it and be as transparent as we can. So I ask that you bear with us and continue to come out to our meetings and hold us accountable. Continue to ask us the questions that you're asking us. Continue to bring us your concerns. So we will do our absolute best. We recognize that you put us here and you can also make us go home. We realize that. So we are doing our best. So I'm just asking for your patience. And if we're not telling you loud enough, we appreciate you all. And I hope that you'll continue to come and share with us your concerns. That's what's going on in your community. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming this evening. I am now looking for a motion to
Can
adjourn.
I know this is out of order. Can I get a second? I forgot to thank Luis for his question about the census. And
Yes.
since we have such a large group, I do want to tell you, if you'll go to census2020.gov, there's a lot of very useful information. But you know, a lot of what we're talking about here requires resources, and the census is very important for that. New Jersey is what they call a donor state. That means we send more money to Washington, D.C. than we receive back in benefits, to the tune of about 79 cents on the dollar. So it's very important, vitally important, that is, you know, we have as accurate a count as we can. So anytime we're in front of a group about this size, maybe even a little smaller, we're going to preach to you like a choir. And we need you to share that information with your neighbors and your friends and your family. You're going to be starting to get stuff next month in the mail, and April 1st it'll kick off. It's vitally important that we count everybody, and everybody counts in Burlington County. Thank you for giving me a second bite of the apple.
No problem, no problem. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, we are adjourned.